Hey everyone, Dave here with another Blu-ray DVD collection update / haul video. In this one we're going to be going over some recent releases from Viavision Entertainment. There's a bit to take a look at, so let's get into it. So we're going to be taking a look at some titles that have dropped in from Viavision over the last couple of months, and we're going to get as up to date as we possibly can with this stuff. As I said, a few titles to take a look at, so let's start. First, we have got this limited special collector's edition version of Dirty Dancing on 4K Ultra High Definition plus Blu-ray. This one comes in a nice sturdy hard box, something that Viavision absolutely excels in with their special edition releases, with a really great lenticular cover there. It looks fantastic. There's some great prints on the back and on the sides and all of that. It's a really nice, attractive looking box. Inside the box, housing the movie, is of course a brand new shiny steelbook. This, I believe, could just be about the first steelbook that Viavision has issued. In fact, on the Australian market, it's very rare to see a steelbook that isn't issued by a major studio. This is a really gorgeous steelbook, which has a gorgeous metallic shimmer on it. The characters on here are in a sort of more matte design, kind of a shiny matte design. It's a really stunning steelbook. Inside, we have 3 discs, which make up this collection right here. We've got the movie on 4K Ultra HD disc on the left, and then on the right we have the movie on Blu-ray, as well as a second bonus special features disc Blu-ray. Whole bundle of stuff complementing this edition right here, including a couple of audio commentaries, a bunch of legacy featurettes, a bunch of archival featurettes, deleted scenes, extended scenes, outtakes, Dirty Dancing, the concert tour from 1988, and a more recent tribute feature, an in memoriam for Patrick Swayze, Emil Ardolino, and Jerry Orbach. So Viavision are finally jumping into 4K, which is great. It's really awesome to see more distributors jumping into this premium format here on the local market. In fact, Viavision have got a number of 4Ks coming up very soon, both under the Viavision label and under imprint as well. We've got a really fantastic imprint 4K coming out soon. As I said, it is a re-release of War of the Worlds, which was the #1 imprint title, the very first imprint title, in 4K, the original version. In fact, I'm not going to cover this for about a month or so, but I'll give you a very quick brief look because I do have it in hand at the moment. This is it right there. Absolutely stunning, and just like the Dirty Dancing one, it does come in a steelbook. This is such a beautiful little packaging there. Again, we'll cover that very soon. I just wanted to give you a little brief glimpse at that. But yeah, this Dirty Dancing 4K right here, as I said, not one of my favorite movies of all time, but it is a movie that is really great and something that I do see myself going back to a couple of times. Now, I have the original 20th anniversary edition of the Blu-ray, which is commonly considered one of the single worst Blu-rays on the market. A lot of the early Blu-rays that hit the market, you know, like 15 odd years ago, however long it was, a lot of them were just sort of like straight ports from the DVD master. There have been remastered versions over the years, but that's the only one that I have. So it's great to finally get a 4K edition of this, and in such a gorgeous special edition collection. It's so nice. The 4K image is beautiful. It's not the greatest looking 4K. It still does have some issues. I think from what I've read, there are some issues with the original print elements of this that kind of hold it back from being a really terrific, you know, 4K presentation. But it is really nice. It is punchy. It's sharp. It is crisp. The best this movie has looked on home media, and probably the best it ever will look on home media. So yeah, I flicked through it, and it is night and day on that old Blu-ray. If you have the 20th anniversary edition Blu-ray and you want to upgrade, this is a no-brainer. If you have some of the more remastered ones from over the years, maybe you'll think twice about this. It does have a hefty price tag on it, of course, because it is such a beautiful limited edition. And I'm very happy. I'm really hoping that they put out some more special edition 4K stuff like this, especially with like the steelbook. That's so great. We've got another 4K release right here, which is one of my favorite movies of all time, The Blues Brothers, starring Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi. After the release of Jake Blues from prison, he and brother Elwood take their blues band back on the road in an attempt to raise money for the orphanage where they were raised, Havoc and Shoes and the brothers seek redemption on their mission from God. While this hasn't been released in as lavish a collection as Dirty Dancing, this edition right here does include both the theatrical and extended versions of the movie and includes a number of archival bonus features. As I said at the top, Blues Brothers is one of my favourite movies of all time. In fact, this is easily a top 5 favourite movie for me. I adore this film. I have loved this since I was a kid. This is the movie that got me interested in blues music and jazz music, and even probably one of the very first comedies, adult comedies that I ever watched. So it's really formative in my appreciation of comedy and kind of musical cinema and all that kind of stuff. This movie was released on 4K over in the US and the UK probably, I'd like to say about 2 years ago now, maybe 3 years ago now. I actually did import that edition back then, so I have watched this on 4K previously, and it is a really, really terrific 4K transfer right here. This has never been the greatest looking movie of all time. It's always been really grungy. There's always been a lot of print damage on here, and it's always been a movie that just looks really dirty. This is the best it's ever looked. It's not the greatest 4K transfer ever, but this is certainly the best it's ever looked. It looks sharper and cleaner than ever. It's crisper than ever. The grain management on this is so much better than any of the previous releases. Again, it's not the greatest looking movie of all time, but this is probably the best we're ever going to see this film, and I'm so happy with it. Of course, the soundtrack is great as well. This movie is all about the music. My favourite version of the movie is probably the extended version. That's the one that gets the most amount of play for me. I know it's a little sacrilegious sometimes for these classic movies to prefer the extended ones, but when I go back to the theatrical, it feels like there's something missing from it because I'm just so used to seeing all the additional little bits and pieces. It's actually quite a bit longer. I think it's something like 20, maybe 30 minutes longer than the theatrical cut, so it does feel like a big chunk is missing when I go back to the theatrical. But yeah, this is the exact same disc that was released overseas. It is literally the same disc. Like, you look at it, it's got the UK ratings logos and everything. It's almost like Viavision have simply just been supplied with the discs from overseas, which is usually the case with a lot of local studio releases. It's kind of rare to see that happen with like a boutique label, but look, I'm happy someone has got this out on the market in 4K because there's so many people out there who deserve to own this movie in the best way possible without having to go to the hassle of importing it. Look, I was happy to get a copy of the Australian edition too because I could never have enough copies of the Blues Brothers in my collection. The cover's different. It's a really nice edition right here. So I would have loved to have seen Viavision do like an all-out special edition like they did with Dirty Dancing. Was not to be though. Just happy to have this on the local market. Go and pick it up. We've got another 4K right here, which is Cameron Crowe's Almost Famous, starring Kate Hudson. Almost Famous is the semi-autobiographical odyssey of 15-year-old William Miller, whose writing talent and earnest passion for music earns him an assignment for Rolling Stone. Interviewing and touring with Stillwater, Penny Lane is the young groupie who guides him through the wild world of rock heroes, all-night parties, and the most dangerous intensity of all, love. This one is only presented in a one-disc collection and presents the film's extended bootleg cut. It's complemented by a single bonus feature, which is the audio commentary by director Cameron Crowe and friends. Okay, so we have another 4K release right here from Viavision, which is Almost Famous. This is a terrific movie, one that I really, really love. I've watched it a number of times and love it every time. The 4K release of this came out overseas, again, maybe a year or so ago, and this release right here is almost the same. The international versions had 2 discs. The first disc had the theatrical cut with a whole bunch of bonus features, including some new bonus features which were never released on any of the previous editions, obviously. And then it had the second disc, which is the bootleg cut. Weirdly, this Viavision release only ports over the second disc from the set, which is the bootleg cut. So if you buy this locally, you're not going to get that first disc, which again has not only the theatrical version of the movie, which has not been released. This was in this 4K edition, this was the first time the theatrical release got any kind of Blu-ray 4K release on any market. So if you're buying this locally, you're not going to get that theatrical cut, which again is not available on Blu-ray or 4K in Australia. You're also not going to get all of those bonus features that were bundled onto that disc. Like, I mean, a whole bunch of stuff, like full-on documentaries and a whole lot of new stuff on there. It is a little bit disappointing. I haven't imported this from overseas, and it's something that I probably will consider importing now just to get that theatrical cut. I actually don't think I've ever seen the theatrical cut of the film, and by all accounts, it is like this superior version of the movie. So yeah, it's really disappointing to kind of not get all those bonus features. And particularly with how Viavision are usually so good at transferring everything over and doing really great additions, I'm just really confused why this only offers the bootleg cut on disc. I don't know if there's rights issues or something in Australia with that theatrical getting put on disc. I don't know, but it is really kind of disappointing. But yeah, it looks great on 4K, sounds great. Again, it's another movie that relies on a lot of music, and it's definitely a film that's worth picking up on 4K, but you just got to consider where you're going to source the disc. Whether you're going to pick up this kind of bare bones one locally, or go for the more lavish version internationally with an import. Next up, we have got a Blu-ray box set, which is the Carry On Collection Volume 1, which features the first 4 movies in the Carry On series, which are, of course, Carry On Sergeant, Carry On Nurse, Carry On Teacher, and Carry On Constable. This collection comes in a soft cardboard slip box and features all 4 of the movies in individual Amaray cases, complemented by the original poster artwork on their covers. Each of them comes with a small smattering of bonus features, including audio commentaries, photo galleries, and theatrical trailers. Viavision have been really good with getting the Carry On movies out on home media recently. About a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, they put out all of the movies on DVD. So they did 2 collections. It was Volume 1 and Volume 2. There's something like 32 movies from this entire collection, and it was like 15 or 16 movies in each of the 2 collections on DVD. They just came in like a big kind of thick Amaray case, and all the discs were in there. And then they did I believe they did a complete collection as well, which had all the movies plus the Carry On Christmas television special. I did get my hands on the 2 individual collections, so I've got all the movies on DVD, but I didn't get the big box set. I'm a bit disappointed that I don't have my hands on the Christmas special, but that's okay. I'll get my hands on it in some way. This is, of course, the first collection of them on Blu-ray, so it looks like they're finally starting to get the movies out on Blu-ray. These are all Studio Canal transfers, so the masters here have been done by Studio Canal, who are absolutely one of the best in the game, particularly when we're talking about boutique labels. Studio Canal does a really great job with back catalogue titles, particularly older British movies, and these Carry On movies, they all look great. I don't think the DVDs came from new masters. The DVDs, I think, were older ports from older DVD releases, the box sets they just released. So these are actually new masters of the film, and they all pull up looking very, very good. If you're not familiar with Carry On, once again, this is just a huge collection, again, 30 plus movies of British comedy from the 60s, 70s. Very crude, very crass, that typical kind of un-PC British comedy from that era. It's overtly sexual, it's very, again, unpolitically correct, all that kind of comedy. And if you love that kind of stuff from the past, it's always fun to watch these things through the goggles of the past. These are movies that would never be made today, but they are a lot of fun, and they're very, very, very funny. I've done the maths in my head, and it's going to take like 7 or 8 Blu-ray collections for them to get the entire 30 plus movies out, because again, this has 4 movies in it. If they continue with that, it's going to be like 7 or 8 box sets here. Maybe they'll include the Christmas special in one of the box sets down the line. Not too sure. We'll see. I think only 1 or 2 of these have been released on Blu-ray in the UK. So this, I believe, is the first time these are actually coming out on Blu-ray. So I'm not sure if all of them have had remasters and they are actually going to get through all of them on Blu-ray. It seems like that is the idea because they've released the first 4 movies from the collection right here. I'm not sure whether over in the UK they're going to do like a massive box set with all of the movies. I feel like that's probably something that is going to happen somewhere down the line. I'm not sure if it might happen here, year where they release all the collections and then do a big box set. Not too sure what's going to happen. We're just going to have to keep our eyes on that and kind of monitor the situation. If you're keen on getting these movies, maybe wait around a little bit before you pick them up just to kind of see how these are going to start rolling out on the market. But I'm just very excited to get my hands on these on Blu-ray. We've got another catalog movie here on Blu-ray, The Mighty, starring Sharon Stone, Gina Rowlands, Harry Dean Stanton, Kieran Culkin, and Gillian Anderson. With his loving and supportive mother, 13-year-old Kevin moves in next door to another teen, Max. Though both have problems that label them as outcasts, Kevin and Max discover that by proudly combining their strengths and uniting as one, they can overcome their individual limitations and triumph over any adversary. As the two set out on a series of courageous adventures, they find the mightiest treasure of all, friendship. Now this is one I'm very excited about. The Mighty is one of those really beautiful, gorgeous, heartwarming, heart-lifting movies that absolutely everybody should see. This comes from the late 1980s. I have been waiting for this to hit Blu-ray for so long. I adore this film. I have it on DVD. It's been in my collection for years and years, just waiting for the HD upgrade, and it's finally here. This is the first time the movie's been released on Blu-ray anywhere in the world. It's a Paramount film. Of course, Paramount are going the yards at the moment with all of their back catalogue titles. They're releasing so many back catalogue things at the moment, whether it be in special edition collections or just standard edition like catalogue Blu-ray releases. Last few years they've been really diving deep into their catalogue and getting stuff like this out, and often is the case where some of these titles will hit the Australian market and then they'll appear as part of like the Paramount Presents, the Paramount Collection, whatever it's called, over in the States, or will just come out as like a standard Blu-ray release over in the States. So I feel like this probably will get an international release sometime in the near future, but for now it's currently only available here in Australia. It looks great on Blu-ray. Again, not the most beautiful looking movie ever. It's not like vibrant or explosive or anything like that, but it does look very good and it's a huge mark above the old DVD. So if you want to get rid of that and upgrade it or get this movie for the very first time, it's well worth the price. This is such a great movie and you should definitely check it out. Next up, we have got a 2-movie collection, which is Cabin Fever and Cabin Fever 2, Spring Fever. In Cabin Fever, Jeff, Karen, Paul, Marcy, and Bert embark on a vacation deep into the mountains. With the top down and the music up, they drive to a remote cabin to enjoy their last days of decadence after college. Then somebody gets sick. Karen's skin starts to bubble and burn as something grows inside her. Tunneling beneath her flesh as the others try to save her, they look at one another and realize that any one of them could be next. One by one, they turn on each other and the rest of the town, realizing that the disease is the least of their problems. Cabin Fever 2 is set just days after the first, and the survivors of that movie are determined to warn others of the danger, though their bodies have been ravaged. However, a water bottling plant has already distributed contaminated water to the local high school. This 2-disc edition comes in a cardboard slipcover, which houses a standard Amaray case. Of course, as you know, I am not the biggest horror fan out there, particularly when it comes to these like really kind of grisly, gruesome, slasher, blood and gore movies. I just can't do them. And these movies right here, Cabin Fever, they really look like the kind of horror movies that I have a hard time getting into. Nonetheless, I did want to get these into my collection because I'm kind of interested in them. I know they have a bit of a cult following. They're considered some of the best like modern horror films. I haven't had a chance to sit down and watch them both just yet. I've kind of flicked through and yes, they are very grisly. These are rated R for high impact violence, and I think I'm going to struggle to get through these, but I am going to make an effort. I know that these movies are in high demand on Blu-ray. Only the first one has been released on Blu-ray anywhere. I think there was a previous Australian release. There's been international releases. The second film, I don't think has had a Blu-ray release anywhere before, maybe in a couple of European countries. I know, again, people have been clamoring for these films on Blu-ray, and I just wanted to spotlight it right here if you're into your horror films. This is a great little set. We've got another Blu-ray here, which is the complete series of Stephen King's Kingdom Hospital. Kingdom Hospital is the haunting drama series developed directly for television by the award-winning, best-selling master of horror, Stephen King. King tells the terrifying story of The Kingdom, a hospital with a bizarre population that includes a nearly blind security guard, a nurse who regularly faints at the sight of blood, and a paraplegic artist whose recovery goes beyond the miraculous. This 3-disc collection, housed inside a standard Amaray case, includes all 13 episodes of the critically acclaimed series in high definition for the very first time. Kingdom Hospital is another one of these really great television miniseries that emerged in the early 2000s. There were so many of these that came out around this time that were sort of branded as premium television dramas. Today we're so used to people like Stephen King working on television shows and making these big premium anthology kind of miniseries for streaming services, Netflix and what have you. But back in the early 2000s, this was kind of a new thing. And to see people like Stephen King attached to a television show was huge, and it did make for big event viewing. Stephen King did a couple of television adaptations around this time. There was an adaptation of The Shining. He was attached to another couple of shows as well, and they were really big events at the time. I remember when this first hit, and this was one of the big shows on. I haven't watched this in full in a very, very long time, but I really, really did enjoy it. It kind of works as like a bit of an anthology series. Each episode, it's like one of those medical dramas where each episode focuses on sort of like a different kind of case file and whatever else, but this almost kind of plays out as like an anthology series of just little Stephen King short stories, though it does have like this overarching sort of supernatural, spooky kind of story going over the top. Had a brief look. These do look very good on Blu-ray. Of course, the source material, this probably would have been filmed or mastered on tape originally, so it does almost appear like a little bit of an upscale, but it does still come up looking very, very good on the high definition format, better than any DVD ever would have looked. If you're a big fan of this series, you already own it, this is definitely worth the upgrade. If you've never seen it before, I'd highly recommend getting your hands on this because this is really great. And finally, we've got the complete series of Homecoming on DVD. This set includes both seasons of this anthology series, which originally premiered on Amazon Prime Video. In season 1, Heidi, Julia Roberts, works at Homecoming, a facility helping soldiers transition to civilian life. Years later, she has started a new life, but when the Department of Defense questions why she left Homecoming, Heidi soon realizes there's a whole other story behind the one she's been telling herself. In season 2, Homecoming returns with a new mind-bending mystery featuring new star Janelle Monáe as a woman with no memory of her own identity. After awaking in a rowboat with no recollection of how she got there, she embarks on a journey to find out who she is, what happened to her, and how it all may connect to the wellness company behind the Homecoming Institute. This collection comes as a 4-disc set featuring each season over 2 discs each. You all know that I absolutely love when streaming exclusive shows wind up on home media, and a bunch of shows that have been produced by Universal have actually wound up on home media here in Australia. I think overseas, well, particularly Homecoming, I don't think Homecoming did get a release overseas. Maybe the first season, I don't think the second season did, but both seasons did get released here, I think maybe 1 or 2 years ago, thanks to Viavision. Now they're doing the thing that they do where they're bundling both seasons together and releasing them as a complete collection. I watched this when it kind of first came out on Amazon Prime. The first season, actually, I know I watched all the way through and really quite enjoyed it. It's a bit weird, it's a bit quirky, you don't quite know what's going on at all times, but it is an enjoyable show, and Julia Roberts, one of my favorites, he's really great in it. It's just a really fun kind of mystery thriller show that's definitely worth a watch. Second season, I think I only watched a couple of episodes of it. I couldn't get into it as much as I could the first season. Again, it's another one of those anthology series which changes the cast in the second series and tells a similar but different story. So I will get into season 2 at some point. I will finish it up. I really, really love Janelle Monáe, but there was just something I think about season 2 that didn't hook me as much as the first season did. So yeah, again, if you're a big supporter of shows that are made for streaming, getting physical releases, definitely head out and support this one. It's an enjoyable show and one that I could recommend. And at that is all the titles that I've got here from Viavision. Thanks to the team at Viavision for sending all of these over. I've got, again, a bunch more videos kind of rolling out over this next month or so. We've covered titles from Imprint, we're going to cover some titles from Umbrella, Kicks.com.au, some personal pickups. We've got a lot to go over, so stay tuned and there'll be a couple more videos coming for the rest of the month. Thanks again for joining me here, and until next time, take it easy. I'll see you then.